Jai Bhim and good evening. I warmly welcome all the participants to this today's webinar. I am more than grateful to be here and welcome you all to this wonderful event, weekly webinar session organized by ASEE, Association for Social and Economic Equality, Nagpur. Jai Bhim, I am Pawan Khadse, a social work student of Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai. Before that, I firstly would like to thank to our honorable chair of this webinar, Padamshree Professor Sukhadeo Thorat sir, former chairperson UGC and ICSSR New Delhi, and the president of ASEE, Association for Social and Economic Equality, Nagpur. Welcome, sir. We are organizing this 89th webinar with his continuous efforts and guidance. These informative sessions and discussions on essential topics and themes have added value to our knowledge and helped us to understand the various issues and concerns through their perspectives. We are inviting distinguished guest speakers from the last several talks, experts across the Indian state like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, Odisha, West Bengal, MP, and Maharashtra. So, weekly webinars, able to get the space, we can get to know, understand, and discuss the issues themes which are related to Bahujans, which are helpful to develop our understanding. I welcome Dr. Prashant Bansode sir. He is a professor at Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics. Will introduce us with the background on the land distribution policy for scheduled caste in Maharashtra. On behalf of the association, I welcome today's respected guest speaker, Dr. Milind Awad sir, Professor, Department of English, JNU. He will enlighten us with his talk on topic called NGOs and role in land distribution in Maharashtra. Welcome, Dr. Awad sir. We are eager to listen to you. So now may I request today's webinar chair, Padamshree Professor Sukhadeo Thorat sir, to please deliver your welcome address.
Good evening to all of you. I'm happy that I'm able to join this discussion. I was not quite sure. I am speaking from Delhi. We have two important speakers, Professor Bansode and Professor Milind Awad. Bansode had already spoken on the issue of land distribution and entire land distribution movement in Maharashtra. And he also spoke about the Gairan land, grazing land distribution. But the major initiative for the land distribution program of the grazing land in the villages has been taken by the NGO started by Eknath Awad, the late father of Milind Awad. Eknath Awad died slightly prematurely, but his contribution in the distribution of land and effort in Marathwada is amazing and most important. Therefore, I thought that Milind Awad will share with us the effort of the NGO, Rural Development. Milind Awad, what is the full name of the NGO?
Rural Development Center. RDC, sir. Yes.
RDC, Rural Development Center, Telgaon. I went there and visited the place and saw the place. Now, this NGO has done a remarkable work. That is, they have listed all the Dalit household which have been cultivating grazing land, Gairan land. They have the household-wise record with them. And there is a law under grazing land that if you cultivate it for some time and meet other condition, you get the ownership. So the Rural Development Center has been able to submit the application, the detail to the government of Maharashtra and got the land for hundreds of people. But there are still more than 100 or people whose applications are lying with the Maharashtra government. So the purpose here of my requesting Milind Awad is to tell us course, the success story and the effort by the RDC. But at the same time, what are the problems involved in this? In the rules regarding the distribution of grazing land and ownership of grazing land, and how it has been distorted to certain extent by the Maharashtra government. So that we understand the issue. Bansode has a whole history of it. So I thought if we can speak for 15-20 minutes and give the background of the grazing land movement and grazing land issue, so that then Milind Awad can specifically talk about the contribution of the NGO. Milind Awad is now heading the NGO as such. So we thank both of them for agreeing to speak to us. With this, I will pass it on to Vidya to take it further.
Thank you, Professor Sukhadeo, sir, for your welcome address. Now, may I request Prashant Bansode, sir, to please give us background on the land distribution policy for caste in Maharashtra.
Yes, good evening all, and thank you once again for inviting me here and speaking on a very important and a very relevant topic. And I thank Professor Sukhadeo Thorat for giving me this one another opportunity to speak to you all on this very important issue of Kairan land struggle in Maharashtra. It is an extremely important issue in terms of land rights of Dalits in Maharashtra and the whole program of distribution of land to the landless, not only in Maharashtra, but all over the country. It is actually, as I've told last time, that I met Eknath Awadji at his office in Delhi. And I was very much impressed with his personality, his voice, and his work which he was doing. So it reminds me, when Professor Thorat was talking about him, it reminds me of that meeting in 2004 or so in Indian Institute of Dalit Studies in Delhi. So I thank, and I would like to give background. Maybe it is some kind of repetition which I have taken up last time. That the land struggle in Maharashtra, and especially of Dalits, came up with Dr. Ambedkar's mobilization in Aurangabad, and I have said that the land struggle movement started under the guidance of Dr. Ambedkar here in Aurangabad. And I have said that there was a meeting which held in Aurangabad in 1953 while he was taking meeting for religious conversion, that is Buddhist conversion movement in Marathwada and especially in Aurangabad. And while he was while the construction of Milind College was going on. So as per the reports and the records, in 1953, this Bhumi Satyagraha started with the initiative and guidance of Dr. Ambedkar. And it is on 10th of August 1953, there was a meeting held at Kuldabad in Aurangabad. And Dr. Ambedkar had called the Tehsildar of Aurangabad, Mr. Ganpat Rao, and there was a meeting in which the leaders of Aurangabad of the Dalit movement were present in that meeting, and it was a large meeting. You have B.S. More, T.G. Kharat, V.N. Suryanshi, S.N. Sirsat, and of course the leader of all of this was Dada Saheb Gaikwad, who has organized in the background all these leaders. And then Ambedkar had come there. And in this meeting, one old man stood up and he said that the possession of Gairan land which he was stealing, he could survive on this piece of land. But when the crop had come, the government has issued him a notice to leave the land. So actually this case of Gairan land is a case of dispossession. Actually, the Dalits were tilling this land in Maharashtra. This is what the fact comes from this. So Ambedkar then asked all the people, those who were present there, that they should then take possession of all these lands, take back this possession of all these lands forcibly, and go for a massive land grab movement. And if they are being charged up,
So, Bansode sir, you are muted, sir. Bansode sir, your voice is not coming.
Ma'am, I think sir has dropped out due to network.
His
So
video was frozen, so perhaps we can wait for him to come.
From the Dalits. One thing is because these were common grazing lands, and the common grazing lands was to be marked for the cow grazing for fodder. So when India got independent, these policies were framed, and also the forest land under the Social Forestry Act, most of the lands were declared as forest, and hence the lands which already the Dalits and Adivasis were tilling were taken by these two main important policies of the government. So one could see that in this Dalits claim that the land were taken away. They were not, while Dalits were tilling this land, the Gairan land especially. So Ambedkar then had given a formula to not only to the Nizam but to the Maharashtra government then, that to the Bombay presidency, Bombay state that 10% of the Gairan land should be kept for cow grazing land, and the rest should be distributed to landless Dalits and Adivasis, or the poor landless. So that is the formula which he has given. As an economist. He must have arrived at this formula, that 10% of the village common land, grazing land, should be marked for the cattle, and depending on the number of cattle villages have. So the Congress, as I see here, that the Janata Saptaik then has taken up this issue, and I'm just quoting this from Janata Saptaik. So there's one big meeting which took place for initiating the Bhumin Satyagraha in 1953, and it was being done by B.S. More, T.G. Kharat, then Suryavanshi, then Sirsat, and many others under the leadership of Dadasaheb Gaikwad. Dadasaheb Gaikwad made three important demands in his speech, in which 1 lakh people had attended this sabha. So the three important things which the Dadasaheb Gaikwad talked about is the eradication of untouchability, that was on priority. Then the government wasteland, Gairan land, and forest land, which was earlier given to Dalits by Nizam, was not given to them for cultivation. This was the main demand in this 1953 conference. And the third one was Dalits were not benefiting from the Tenancy Act, that is the Kul Qaida. This is 26 September 1953, the Janata Saptaik. That is what I'm quoting. So Dadasaheb Gaikwad then made a relevant demand that give work or give bread, which in Marathi, kam dya nahitar bhakar dya, or give land to untouchables. So this began the larger movement for land land grab movement for on forest land, government wasteland, and also on Gairan lands all over Marathwada. And the Dalit Federation was formed for taking up this under the leadership of Dadasaheb Gaikwad. So 1 lakh people took participation in this Sabha, and in 1953 and 1954, you have more than 1 lakh people, those who got arrested under this Bhumin Satyagraha, this phase of Bhumin Satyagraha. And this of land, and they were being associated with the Nana Patil. Hello.
Hello, sir. Could you please off your camera so that we can hear you clearly? Like your voice is breaking.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me now clearly? Can you hear me now clearly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sir. We lost you in between, but now you're audible. Please.
Yeah. Okay. So it is in 1953 that this Gairan land struggle, became, and the Scheduled Caste Federation took it up under the leadership of Dadasaheb Gaikwad, and this movement again, there are three phases, as I said. It is 1953 to 54, and then 1958 to 59, and then 1964 to 65. These are the three phases in which this movement took place. And in these three phases, it began from Marathwada. So it took a state character in 1958-59, and it took a national character in 1964 and 65. So as we know that in the elections in 1957, that 6 to 7 MPs were there from Scheduled Caste Federation, and their 26 to 27 MLAs were representing in the Maharashtra Assembly then. So Rajabhau Khobragade, while he was MP, so they had made a lot of noise in Parliament then on the issue of distribution of government wasteland to landless Dalits. So he demanded in the Parliament that if the government wasteland fell short of demands of the land, then they should be allotted the land by making land ceiling laws. So as I've said that for the land ceiling laws, impact was such of this movement that the land ceiling laws gave priority to Dalits and Adivasis for distribution of ceiling land, those who were surplus. So, and also he is the one who has said that the limit on land should be 20 acres of land. So, which is what the Land Ceiling Act really talks about. So, Datta Katti argued that the underdevelopment of Dalits is due to the ignorance of Dalits by the government. And he suggested three immediate measures for the development of Dalits. One is the land reforms and collective farming. The second one is distribution of government wasteland to Dalits, and to start small scale industries in villages. So this is the kind of an economic question which which the Dalit movement has raised. So in my last talk, I have said that nearly 1 lakh Dalit farmers in 1950s, as I've said, they have got occupied this grazing land all over Maharashtra, all over Marathwada, and also it is in 1991 the movement was able to grab 1 lakh hectares of land, so which is equivalent to area of today's Pune and Bengaluru put together. So I have also the statistics in 1964 that around, because of the impact of Bhumi Satyagraha in Maharashtra and elsewhere, 2.5 lakh acres of land was distributed under this by impact of this Satyagraha, and the breakup of the land distribution was 70,000 acres was given to scheduled caste in 1964, and 35,000 acres to Neo Buddhist. So it crosses 1 lakh, and 1,45,000 acres of land to the remaining landless poor, we could see. So as I said, this movement took a national character, and we all know that the movement was active till 1964, particularly this Bhumi Satyagraha, and then we do not have seen the mobilization under the Republican Party of India at a massive scale after 1965. Why? Because there was factionalism in RPI, and also Dada Saheb Gaikwad and most of the leaders went into the Congress Party, had an alliance with Congress Party, and then this, because of this factionalism, and then the economic question was not taken up the extent it was there in 1964 and 65. So the question of land distribution, even after that, remains the very central and important question. So it is the Dalit Panthers who took up this movement and took up the cause of Gairan lands. And why? Because atrocities were associated with these Gairan lands, and maybe Dr. Awad would talk more on this. So I'll leave this to him. But as I've said, because of the impact of this Bhumi Satyagraha, there were 22 resolution which was passed by the government of Maharashtra right from 1952. So the methodology of land grab, as suggested by Dr. Ambedkar, was that you forcibly take this land, till this land, prove that you have tilled this land, and pay the fine of this land and regularize the land. So this was the actual process and the methodology. So you could see that this kind of method of regularizing the land was seen in the government resolutions. While I was reading these all government resolutions, and I have all these government resolutions with me. There is one important government resolution of 1979, September 12, 1979, and which talks about legal and illegal kind of encroachments. So the government periodically started, classifying, because after 64, the Republican Party and all that factionalism, took place, and the collective force of Dalits was not seen that strong, and therefore the splinters of the factionalized Dalit parties with the socialist, with the communist, with the left, and the other progressive parties took up this struggle and were trying to regularize, this land. So you could see that in 1979, the government then started classifying the land which was legal encroachment and which was illegal encroachment. So it classified encroachment which were regularized and encroachment which were not fit to regularize. So if you could see the quantum, it is almost around 40, around 60% of the cases. I have figures with me. So 60% of cases which are not fit for regularization, and another 10% cases which were pending cases with the administration to be classified as legal or illegal. So you could see that around 70% of the cases in 1979 were not seen fit for regularization. So though we see that on the one hand that 1 lakh hectares of land which was distributed, but in administrative parlance, 70% of the land was illegally encroached. So there was about 10 to 15 lakh of illegal or authorized plot holders, as Buskute has pointed out in his article, that this land was left for regularization. So I have the 1991 policy government resolutions, in which you find that around 73,555 hectares of land were encroached on Gairan land in Maharashtra particularly. And here also, the cases, those who were taken up that they were fit for regularization, were not only not more than 40 to 50% of all the illegally encroached land. So the Dalit movement then from Marathwada and also the splinters factionalized RPI groups with the left and with the Socialist Party has come together and fought these cases in 1980s, after the Dalit Panthers also becoming factionalized and not that strong because of factionalization. So you have Bhumihin Hakka Suraksha Samiti, which was formed in 1988 in Marathwada, especially in Aurangabad, and this took up a big movement again in Marathwada for regularization of encroachment of these lands. So Comrade Bhau Satam, then Shantaram Pandare, Chandramani Lavane, Sudhakar Petkar, Dr. B.V. Patil from and M.H. Shavji from Janata Party, Professor Motirao Rathod, and many, Comrade Bhimrao Bansode, Sandeep Jadhav, all of them came together and formed this committee, and they started creating noise from Marathwada for the Gairan land movement. So the Bhumihin Hakka Suraksha Parishad, which organized Zameen Pani Hakka Parishad, and it created the many resolutions for regularizing of Dalit lands, and the main issue of drinking water, and also they had an attack on the new forest policy of 1988, which the tribals were actually displaced from their land. So At the state level, there was one committee was just formed as Karmavir Dada Saheb Gaikwad Janma Shatabdi Bhumi Hakka Parishad to make the fight for land vigorously. So the factionalized party of RPI, then Praja Samajwadi Party, and many other parties took up different issues of land. Also, it took up the issue of urban land ceiling laws. Why? Because the industrialist landlords and MNCs and private companies were buying agricultural land. So this committee also raised the issue of Maharwatan land rights and Watan land to be given to Mahar specially. So the Dada Saheb Gaikwad Janma Shatabdi Bhumi Hakka Kriti Samiti organized 50,000 landless laborers in which Naikwadi was one of the main leader, and then CPI's Govind Pansare was also part of this. Then Samajwadi Jan Parishad, Satyashodak Communist Party was also a part of this. And because of this mobilization, you find that the policy GR came in 1991, and then subsequently in 2001, because of these movements, there was amendment in these policy GR, and 2001 amendment took place, 2002 amendment took place, and much more of the cases were being regularized. But there has been dispossession of these lands, and as I said, Buskute and K. Gopal Iyer has talked about that more than 50% of the encroachment has on Gairan lands, forest lands, and government wasteland has not been by Dalits and Adivasis, but by the OBC and the dominant communities, and all of these parties and all of these groups are fighting. And you find that post 2000 and 2000 when these amendments had taken place, there are a lot of groups in villages. They have organized under different banners, whether it is factionalized RPI or the left or the communist or the Praja Socialist party, or the biggest mobilizer was Eknath Awad in Bid and Mazalgaon areas, with Dr. Awad is going to talk about. So because of all these, one big thing which happened in 2003 was the Dada Saheb Gaikwad Bhumihin Yojana, which was started by the state government in order because there was very much resistance from these groups, and you find that whole of Maharashtra and especially Marathwada, the issue of landless Dalits is very significant, because though we see that the Gairan lands, especially, it is a case of dispossession. It is a case of dispossession of Dalits from the Gairan lands. The land which they were tilling, they were being dispossessed, and the dominant community later had whisked away Dalits from these lands and taken the forcible possession of these lands, and that is why you have the land struggle which is there, and Dr. Milind Awad is going to speak more on it, so I would not take much more time on this. So with this background, I will leave it to Dr. Milind Awad, and once again I thank Professor Sukhadeo Thorat for giving me this opportunity to share my ideas and share some of the things from my study to all of you. Thank you so much, and thank you all the organizers of this association for inviting me to speak on this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bansode sir, for the background. And now we will listen to our chief guest speaker. Still before that, I would like to invite Smriti, a social work student of Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai, to please briefly introduce Dr. Milind Awad, sir. Smriti.
Yes, thank you, Pavan. So Jai Bhim and good evening, everyone. I'm Smriti, a student of Masters in Social Work, TISS Mumbai. I'm here to introduce today's eminent guest speaker, Dr. Milind Awad, Assistant Professor, Center for English Studies, School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Dr. Awad's areas of research and teaching interests are post-colonial studies, cultural studies, autobiography studies, modern Dalit writings, early modern writings on caste, caste and gender studies, literary theory. He supervised many MPhil and PhD students completing their MPhil and PhD. Fellowships and awards 2012 to 13, Charles Wells India Trust SOAS Fellow at SOAS South Asian Institute, London, UK. 2021 to 22, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Research Award, awarded by Department of Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Studies, Savitribai Phule Pune University, Pune, Maharashtra. To talk about Dr. Awad's published work, he has published 3 books. First book titled The Life and Work of Anna Bhau Sathe, a Marxist Ambedkarite Mosaic, GAR publication, New Delhi in 2010. Second book titled is Epistemic Foundation of Dalit Writings, article in book Sociology of Dalit Literature, edited by B.V. Bhoste, ABD Publishers, New Delhi in 2014. Third book titled is Anna Bhau Sathe, Marx Vadatun Ambedkar Vada Kade, Samagra Anna Bhau Sathe, Ambar Sabre and Shobha Chalke, Nirmiti Samvadat Publisher, Kolhapur in 2017. He has wrote around 10 research articles in renowned journals on board themes such as Dalit literature, Dr. Ambedkar, caste religious conversion and land right movements. Newspaper articles published in The Wire, The People's Post and Lok Satta Marathi newspaper. Presentation and participation in more than 42 conferences. Other work experiences are in 2020, Advisory Board for Caste and Film, co-edited volume, Rutledge Press in India. In 2013, member of Academic Council, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Research Training Institute, Government of Maharashtra, Pune. In 2010, prepared a fact-finding report on Dalit atrocities in Marathwada, which interrogate various incidents of caste violation in Marathwada during 2007 to 2009. In 2005, co-authored report on institutional evolution of Rural Development Center, Maharashtra for the Project Social Philanthropy in for Indian Institute of Dalit Studies in New Delhi. So this was a brief introduction of Dr. Awad, sir, and I welcome you again. Now over to Pawan. Thank you.
Thank you, Smriti, for the introduction. Now I invite our guest speaker, Dr. Awad, sir, to please enlighten us with your topic on NGO and their roles in land distribution in Maharashtra. Over to you, Dr. Awad, sir.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you, Smriti, for this detailed introduction. I sincerely thanks to Association for Social and Economic Empowerment Movement and respected Professor Thorat, sir, for this opportunity. Friends and colleagues and activists, and I can see a lot of people familiar names. in this discussion, and I could see that this is 17th, I think 73rd lecture series in the in the series of lectures on various topics. So I sincerely thanks to all of you for your time and this invitation. As Professor Prashant Bansode talked about land right movement in Maharashtra, his historical context actually gave me, ground to talk about the work which has been done in Marathwada. And let me, talk about the capacity, in which capacity I am going to talk about this work is not I'm legal expert on revenue laws, or I'm not, I do possess academic understanding of law, labor, caste, and so on. But I have not worked, or I have not done any particular research work on land right, like Prashant, Professor Prashant has done his PhD and further engagement on land and caste issue. But I was part of this land right movement since 2009 onwards, effectively. The work which was done by Rural Development Center, it's basically organization, local NGO, which was working on various social development projects. So as Prashant talked about, the context of land right movement in Maharashtra is very much prevalent. One can witness the historical context of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's call of, leave the villages and go to the cities, or villages are, caste, villages are the garbage bin of pride, so go to the cities. So basically, it's very important to think about the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's idea of economic independence, and how Dr. Ambedkar talked about. I mean, I'm not going to talk about it in detail. Professor Prashant talked about it, but it's very important to think about the land and economic independence, land and livelihood, land and social dignity. And I think this land issue is initiated by post-Ambedkarite movement, such as Dada Saheb Gaikwad and other various social activists, based on the issue of land and social dignity, land and securing livelihood, land and economic independence. So one can see the dynamics of land issue in Dalit mobilization nationally as well as in Maharashtra in particular. So, so basically, I was part of this project. It was 10 years project, and this project was formulated in context of the historical context of Dalit land right movement in Maharashtra, which just Professor Prashant Bansode talked about. So basically, land right movement was one of the important important issue in Dalit mobilization historically, and that is still prevalent. And we do see a couple of examples, such as land reform movement in West Bengal, in Kerala, few extent in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and then land reform movement in Maharashtra. But that remain only in the that remain only in terms of law and legalities. I'll talk about it, procedural aspect of land right movement in Maharashtra, which Professor Prashant Bansode was also talked about it, that how what are those GRs, how this movement was, what was the historical trajectory of this movement, how this movement was has have gone through various historical trajectories. So this is something which is important to understand in terms of the larger context of the movement which took place in Marathwada. Basically, I'm talking as an activist, as a person who was part of that process for nearly 10-12 years. And as Prashant talked about, that this movement started in I mean, at least what I sensed in the villages of Marathwada was the Dadasaheb Gaikwad's call, grab the land movement, was one of the important or inspirational call, which actually picked up by the generation of Dadasaheb Gaikwad, which was 1670s, and most of the land was grabbed, and that was the word which is used, grabbed, used in Sarkari terminology, which is Gairan Atikraman Dharak. So land, grazing land, encroachment. So Atikraman Dharak is the word which is used in the administrative, in the form of administrative usage. So basically, grazing land or Gairan land is one of the major land in Marathwada. Like Ravi Buskute, Professor Bansode talked about it, mentioned that there are 17 types of land in Maharashtra, which are prevalent as, which are known as wasteland, and somehow those lands are, those lands are recognized by various government revenue laws, which could be cultivated or encroached by landless laborers and landless Dalits and Adivasis in those areas, and that land can be entitled on that encroacher's name. So these laws are available. These regulations are available in the Maharashtra revenue laws, in various laws and clauses. Professor Ravi Buskute had worked on this issue intensively, and he wrote one book on it, that what kind of lands are available in Maharashtra. So, for instance, like in Marathwada, Gairan Zamin or grazing land is one of the major land in one of the major land in Marathwada. Like in Western Maharashtra, I think Mahar Watanachi Zamin is one of the major common wasteland in Paschim Maharashtra, Western Maharashtra, which was encroached or claimed by the landless Dalits during Dadasaheb Gaikwad. Then Devasthanachi Zamin is also one of the major type of land, which is considered as one of the major grazing, one of the major wasteland. But that land is occupied by the not trustee also, but those who can actually who can control that land. So in most of the cases, that Devasthanachi land is basically controlled by the local landlords, or those who possess the power to so basically village sarpanch or local power holders. So most of the land, like in Usmanabad district, massive land, I mean more than 1 hectare land is wasteland, which is considered as Devasthanachi land, and this Devasthanachi land is basically encroached by local landlords. So there is dynamics, there is history of this land. So this is one type of land. Like Waqf board land is also one of the major wasteland, and this land is again controlled by major local landlords. So forest land is one of the type of land, and forest laws are quite clear laws and land. So there is clear-cut understanding of forest land, and there are cases that those who could, or those who encourage forest land, they were highly penalized, or these criminal cases were charged on them. So forest land was, in my understanding, no moreover. Sorry, I can read, Prashant. So forest land was and is one of the major land, but that land is in the control of forest department, and there are various tight laws which could frame these encroachers, and they will remain in jails for a couple of months. There are few cases we dealt with this type of cases. So there are various type of land in Maharashtra. Grazing land, Gairan Zamin, is one of the major land in Marathwada. So Rural Development Center is one of the organization which started to think about this land right movement in 2005. We had good support of Oxfam India that time. I think Oxfam India and Intermoon Oxfam, that was the name of that funding agency. So initially we could we actually started to think about this land right issue, that how this issue can be formulated. We talked about, I mean, that was the project for 4 years, 2004 to 2009, to mobilize opinion on land right issues with various stakeholders, to talk about land right issues in election manifesto. So basically this awareness program was one of the major activity of RDC, which was done with the local grassroots organization called Manvi Hakka Abhiyan. So this organization, the NGO initiated local CBOs or local mass-based organization called Manvi Hakka Abhiyan. So initially we started to we thought about this issue for a couple of years, and there was as Professor Prashant talked about it in detail, that I'm not going to repeat that, but there was massive mobilization on the issue of land. People were politicized on the issue of land. There was strong confrontation between landless Gairan Dharaks and villagers, right? So this binary was in existence: Gairan Dharak and villagers. So we could actually see, I mean, still that tension is very much prevalent wherever people encroached grazing land in Marathwada. There is history of caste violence. There is history of caste confrontation. So most of the villages do have this history. So this tension was prevalent during during 90s and 20s, and that too renaming movement was one of the important context where villages were compartmentalized between Dalits and non-Dalits. So, and this binary was very much strong during Dalit Panther, during Namantar movement, and Marathwada was one of the region which had strong, which could see various cases of caste atrocities, and so it actually added the anger of non-Dalit or villagers' opinion about Dalits and grazing land holders. So this is one of the contexts where caste atrocities took place. I'm not going to talk about it in about caste atrocity in detail, but I'm just trying to bring that context. Thinking that grazing land was one of the major issue, and Dalit masses were already mobilized, and I could see that grazing land issue or issue of Dalit atrocity or caste atrocity, where we do sense the intra-caste tension in various areas, in various villages. So we had realized that civil right issue and the land right issue. This was the issue where we do see the spontaneous solidarity among scheduled caste, whereas we do see intra-caste tension on other issues. So I think this issue is one of the issue where we do see this intra-caste solidarity among scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, or there is one spontaneity among the Gairan Dharak holders, or Gairan Dharak. This is the word which people generally use. So we actually began with identifying, we identified 1,000 villages in Marathwada. So in Marathwada, we did a small, one report before the project, before we started to work on grazing land movement in 2009. And in that report, we identified the type of land which is available in Marathwada. How many villages do have this land? In our report, and government statistics is also there, where in Marathwada, almost 2.5 lakh land is grazing land is available in Marathwada, and this land is covered more than 5,000 villages. So I think Prashant can correct me if there is any if there is any disparity of numbers. But we identified 1,000 villages where this land, grazing land, was encroached by people before 1990s. So Prashant talked about 1979 GR. 1979 GR was about the landless laborers or grazing landholders who encroached land before 1979, and that land should that land was the GR was to entitle that land on the grazing land holders till 1979. So that 1979 GR was about the land entitlement of grazing land holders till the encroachment was there, till the encroachment of 1979 landholders or encroachers. Then there was major GR was in 1991. And that GR was again, they extended the time from 79 to 1991. And that GR, Maharashtra government GR, was to entitle that land till those who encroached that land till 1991. So that was the last GR. And I think in 2010, there was one GR which was about the land entitlement of grazing landholders till 2010. So in 2009, we identified these 1,000 villagers, 1,000 village in Marathwada. In this 1,000 villages, we recognize these villagers who encroached land before 1990. Now they had control on the land, but that land was not entitled on their name. So this project was, this project formulated 2-3 activities. So basically, this project was to bring efficiency of revenue laws. So this project was to push the efficiency of grazing revenue laws on grazing land So the strategy which was adopted by RDC was to mobilize the issue of land right movement or Gairan grazing land issue. Second, this issue was mobilized in terms of law and legalities, where they actually talked about what are those GRs, how these GRs were implemented in various times, why those GRs was not implemented in that time frame, what are those technical legal so the entire mobilization was based on the governance-based political action. So this governance-based political action was one of the important objective of this project. So this project, Zamin Adhikar Andolan, was the name of that project. Actually formulated the formulated the information of 50 talukas. So these 50 talukas, we are this 1,000 villages, we are identified in 50 talukas. This identification was done on the basis those who fall within the identified 50 talukas. Second, who have occupied land before 1990s but do not have the necessary proof. So, encroachment was there, but in order to entitle that land, these encroachers did not had necessary proof. So this project was to create necessary proof, and there were 17 necessary proof. I will talk about it, these proofs in my concluding part. But so this village, these 1,000 villages, where so those who occupied this land before 1990s, who did not have necessary proof. 3, already having most of the proof supporting their claims. So there are various proofs, such as police case, various affidavits, peak para. Few proofs are there, but there are 17 proofs or 18 proofs which is required to submit in local Tehsil office, collector office in 7 copies. So few of the grazing land holders or these Gairan Dharaks had few proofs, but they were they could not generate few other proofs. So the project was meant to generate this legal proof in order to entitle this land. 4, who have identified from the regularization process but do not have the documents or whose occupancy has not been revised in the land record. So those there are various grazing land holders, Gairan Dharaks, who are encroaching this land from generation to generation. So there is possession from 1970s, but that land is not entitled in 79 GR, not entitled under 91 GR. So they have proof, they have possession, but they, because of inefficiency of revenue department or overall their their approach towards the grazing land entitlement issue is quite negative, passive, and that is what we have realized. That is one of the major hurdle, that whenever we go and talk about grazing land issue in local Tehsil office and collector office, there was very passive response. Maximum, if there is any local Tehsil, Dalit Tehsildar or sympathizer of the issue, he or she may call Tehsil Talati's Baitak, and in that Talati meeting, that Tehsildar would say that go and do peak para. Peak para is basically creating land record that these people are cultivating that land, and in monsoon, whatever they are cultivating, there is need to write the name of that crop. That document is called peak para, and that peak para would come on your land record. It's called 10 Daha Bachi known, 10 Bichi known. So these are technical terms which I know because of I was part of that process. But that movement was, meant to generate legal documents, various legal documents. So, this was the qualification, qualification, or the basis of scrutiny on which we identified these 1,000 villages. So in this 1,000 villages, we actually identified 18,000 grazing land holders, or Gairan Dharaks, 18,000 Gairan Dharaks, whose the land was more than 40,000 hectare land, which was encroached by these 18,000 grazing land holders. So we actually identified 1,000 villages, 18,000 families who encroached more than 40,000 grazing land holders. So it was between 40 to 50,000 grazing land grazing land holders. So we started in 2009. We actually, who are the stakeholders of this process, or who were the stakeholder of this process? So who have established claim on land but need land improvement. So the major stakeholder of this process was land encroachers itself, who had encroached that land but did not have any had any legal document, who are cultivating the land but need to establish legal title. This was one of the objective of that project. They are cultivating that land, but in order to establish legal entitlement, legal proof is required. So in order to claim legal entitlement of the land, one need to create legal proof. So so this was one of the activity. Second, so this 18,000 families, actually we formulated, we had support. In the beginning I said that Oxfam India supported for this project, Intermoon Oxfam, sorry. So we actually had 50 full-time activists in 50 blocks. These 50 activists identified 5,000 village animators. We use that word in the project, village animators, but village level activists who could actually provide the information from those 1,000 villages. So 1,000 villages, 5,000 activists, volunteers, who worked with 50 full-time activists. Now these 50 activists worked with this 1,000, worked in this 1,000 villages, created 18,000 grazing land holders legal proof. So we actually from 2009 to 2000, I think, 2007 to 2000. I think 11 or 12, I'm not sure, but it was 5-year project. So we created almost 18,000 files in 7 copies. And these 18,000 files we are submitted in local Tehsil office, SDM office, then DM office, district collector, and then local, and then concerned divisional commissioner, and in 7 copies, and finally in revenue secretary's office. So we actually identified those villages who actually had possession. We could able to generate legal proof of this 18,000 families. So what we generated, I'll just like to mention those proof. This application of the application, applicant 1, a record of police record, a record of police case filed against the occupant because of his encroachment on the piece of land. So police record was one of the important, record in order to claim this land, or in order to make this file. Proof of occupant having received punishment, or again some proof, legal proof. A copy of court judgment, if there is any case, and if there is any judgment of court. There are 6-7 type of affidavits, right? So affidavit of neighbor, affidavit of gurakis, that is the one of the affidavit of 5 key person from villagers, village head or sarpanch, vice sarpanch, police constable, police patil, chairman of the village, farmers cooperative society, who can actually say that this land is who can give affidavit that this land is encroached by so and so from so and so date. So that affidavit is one of the important document. Affidavit of 5 senior elderly resident of the village. So there are various, almost 6-7 affidavits. Then Ichi Nond, e-document, that's called Ichi Nond in Marathi, is one of the important Nond or proof. Then a local map from Bhumi record, Taluka. This office is based in Taluka place. Who could show that what is the number of that land or survey of that land? So Bhumi Bhubilek office. That is what the name of that office. So there are 16-17 proof which we generated in 5 years with the help of these 50 karyakartas in respective villages. We actually developed this proof in order to claim this land. So we developed 18,000 grazing land holders proof in these 1,000 villages. And we said, we in various representation memorandum, in various meeting with local collectors, we used to say that whatever is required to done by revenue officer, this is work of revenue office. This is work of local tehsildar and collector. But we are doing it. Now we are just saying that entitle this land on the cultivator's name. But we could not, so the response was, as I said in the beginning, was very passive. We used to, go with mobilization, morcha, dharne. That was one of the major program. Agitation and mobilization was one of the major program during that time. But I must say that with the help of law, legalities, we actually created proof. Legal compilation of document was done. We submitted respective grazing land holders file in 7 copies in respective offices, but still there was no, or the response was very, passive. In order to, we invoked various strategies. So one strategy was to, that time UPA government was there in Maharashtra, Congress NCP government, in state it was there. So we thought that, person like Sharad Pawar, who is one of the important, who actually, we had a couple of meetings with him, and we said that we are working on this issue, and probably if you come in the field and talk about this issue, it probably it will encourage your party cadre, your people or bureaucracy, and perhaps at least whatever we have submitted whatever we have submitted for legal entitlement can be done through a particular camp. So he was agreed. He actually gave 2 public meeting. He came for 2 public meeting in Marathwada. He actually invited one divisional commissioners meeting in Mumbai. He called entire divisional commissioner, 6-7 divisional commissioner. That times I think Rane was revenue commissioner, chief secretary, and we presented this work, and we said that at least that in Maharashtra there are various type of land. This issue is raised in various ways. But in Marathwada, we have identified people, we have submitted legal documents which is required to entitle that land on respective grazing land encroachers, grazing land holders. But still there is, the work is not done. And the reason we used to, here was revenue officers are busy in various works. So grazing land or Gairan Dharaka Samudda was their last priority. So this was the case till 2015. But in 2015, the Supreme Court judgment is there. And nowadays, whenever we talk about this file, officers are citing Supreme Court judgment. And actually, in a couple of villages where that land, they are willing to use this land for actual, they are saying this is actual common purpose, such as MSEB, some government project, some Kendriya Vidyalaya, hospitals, guest house. They are now willing to use this land because this land is nearby villages, or wherever this land, grazing land, is in the prime location. They are willing to use for a government purpose, and they are giving notices citing the Supreme Court judgment. So basically, because of I'm not going to talk about that Supreme Court judgment in detail. I read, and I have understanding of the judgment. But at this moment, I'll just say that Supreme Court judgment on grazing land or on wasteland issue is has curtailed the possibility of entitlement of land entitlement on the grazing land holders name. So so basically, whatever we could see through 1991 GR or 2010's notification is curtailed because of Supreme Court judgment. So this is the status of now the land entitlement movement. So to sum up my presentation, I like to say that we actually mobilize masses on the issue of pushing efficiency of revenue laws. We created legal document. We compiled those documents and submitted the files on the clear files, because of this 18,000 families do have legal proof. Their occupancy is before 1990s occupancy. So legal, in terms of law legalities and technicalities, these families are entitled to, these families are eligible to entitle that land on their name. But as so far, we see minimal, I could say not more than few hundred families could get, did get the land entitlement. Not few hundred, I think 200 or 300 families did get legal entitlement on their name. So this is the one can say achievement, but I don't want to say it achievement. But this is the status of this work or movement, and what we could achieve was very less in terms of legal entitlement. So that is what the project or the movement was about. Few work, there are few academic engagement is reflecting on this work. Someone in Minnesota, I think Vishal, is writing on grazing land movement in Marathwada. Suryakant Wagmude did fantastic work on grazing land movement and Dalit civil society in Marathwada. So there are few academic reflections, and there is few intervention. But in terms of success of this movement, it is very less because of various reasons. So that is what I wanted to share with you. So thank you for your
time. Thank you so much, Awad sir.
Yes,
you talked about Indra. Yeah.
Hello.
Please, sir.
I'd like to make few comments.
Yes, sir.
You please go ahead. You want to speak, you go ahead, but I'll make some comment on this. Shall I?
Yes, I just need to.
Pawan, आप explain.
Okay. Is it fine now? Hello?
Fine, sir.
Okay. No, I just want to mention that you have listened to the entire struggle of Rural Development Center. And Milind Awad is very modest. He must be a young man at that point of time, early years. But his father, Eknath Awad, really struggled very hard to give the ownership of land, grazing land, which they were cultivating. We must mention that he did this under a lot of physical threat. I think there were several attacks on him, but he didn't budge, and he carried forward this movement in Marathwada and managed to get the land to many of them. The figure have been given by Milind Awad. But there is a message from this movement by the Rural Development Center is that there is a continuous resistance to the land rights of the scheduled castes. In the past, they were denied right to land, and whenever now government take policies, there is a opposition in one form or other. But that opposition at both the level. One is that, of course, the people in the villages, they oppose it in one form or other. But the government itself is prepared the policies which are very half-hearted. In this case, they went to a very difficult route that let the scheduled castes cultivate the land, and then if some of those who are cultivating the land before 1990 or after 1990, they should apply, give the evidence, prove that, and then that became a very treacherous process. There are several applications. I think the RDC has given to the government. Their files are lying with them, where there is a full proof, legal proof. Now, in this case, instead of taking these torturous routes, the government should have simply take the decision that this is the grazing land that we have, cultivable wasteland. Grazing land is a part of the cultivable wasteland. This is the public land. They could have identified the landless scheduled caste labor in the villages and outright distribute the land, 5 acres of land to each one of them, or 10 acres of land to each one of them, dry, and give the ownership right. But they follow this difficult track simply because the government himself is not interested. The government is ruled by the people who are at local level, the landowner, and who are not interested. So they want to preserve their interests. So it has been a very difficult policy-wise exercise for Dalit, and it will continue to be so. That is why in Maharashtra, even today, I think about 41% of the scheduled castes are casual laborer, and those who own the land, almost 75% own the land which is less than 1.5 acres. So the resistance to the scheduled caste to the economic right and land right continue, and it became a difficult task. Now we hardly talk about land distribution. Entire political and social movement do not talk about less about the economic issues, emphasize more on the social issue. Even on social issue, there is not much agitation or movement. Forget about the economic issue. So thank you, Milind, for giving us a detail. Some of those who are interested should go to Marathwada. The RDC center is in Telgaon, and you can see the history of their work. Okay, Vidya and who is coordinating this, please go ahead with the question answer session now.
Thank you. Now this platform open for all. Please write your question in chat box or directly ask your question.
Vidya madam.
Yes, sir.
should I request Mr. Vilas Bhongade? He is having some experience about this. So
Yes, yes.
within a minute or two, he can explain.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay.
Sir, please.
Uh,
Vilas Bhongade, sir.
Vilas sir. Vilas Bhongade sir. Can you hear me?
No, sir. Sir,
Yeah,
Jai
please.
Bhim.
Jai Bhim, Jai Bhim. Please go on. Please go on. Share your experience.
मैं तो एक तो हिंदी बोलूंगा या मराठी.
Carry on, please. Please.
हेलो.
हाँ बोला ना, बोला हिंदी मध्ये बोला.
मेरा नाम विलास भोंगाड़े है और मैं कष्टकरी जन आंदोलन के साथ काम करता हूँ और खास करके ये चर्चा जो चल रही है ये खास जमीन के सवाल के ऊपर चर्चा की है और मिलिंद अवाड ने जो अपने मराठवाड़ा के गायरान जमीन के सवाल जो थे उसके बारे में उन्होंने चर्चा की है और महाराष्ट्र में देखा जाए तो मराठवाड़ा में गायरान जमीन का सवाल है और कोकण में दली जमीन का सवाल होता है और विदर्भ में उसको हम जबरान जोत का सवाल बोलते हैं. ये जबरान जोत का क्योंकि ये अतिक्रमण जमीन का अतिक्रमण बोलना थोड़ा ये लगता है तो हम जबरान जोत उसको बोलते हैं और जबरान जोत की मूवमेंट काफी 50-60 साल से पहले की है और उसमें काफी बदलाव भी दिखते हैं विदर्भ के इस जमीन के सवाल के ऊपर और जैसे कि विदर्भ में खास करके नारायण सिंह उइके उन्होंने जबरान जोत ये मूवमेंट काफी आंदोलन किया है और उस वक्त ये सारे विदर्भ के जिले जो थे उसमें खास करके गढ़चिरौली, भंडारा, गोंदिया और नागपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट और चंद्रपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में काफी जबरन जोतधारक थे और तब से ये मूवमेंट चली, काफी बड़ी चली. उसमें काफी लोगों ने मानिकगढ़ पहाड़ में भी एक बड़ा आंदोलन इस सवाल के ऊपर किया था और इस आंदोलन को और साथ जो मिली कि 64 में जो जमीन सत्याग्रह हुआ उसका भी संदर्भ उसमें आता है और उस 64-65 तक बहुत सारे महाराष्ट्र में जीआर निकले थे जमीन के पट्टा देने के बारे में, लेकिन उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन नहीं हो पाया और 2002 में दादा साहब गायकवाड़ की जन्म शताब्दी वर्ष था. उस वक्त ये जमीन के सवाल के ऊपर महाराष्ट्र भर चर्चा हुई और उस वक्त महाराष्ट्र शासन ने 2002 में एक जीआर निकाला था और उस पर उन्होंने कहा था कि ये जमीन का पट्टा देने की प्रक्रिया शुरू करें. उसका खास करके इम्प्लीमेंटेशन विदर्भ में जो हुआ वो अमरावती में हुआ, जो मनीषा शर्मा जो कलेक्टर थी उस वक्त और नंदुरबार में हुआ थोड़ा इम्प्लीमेंटेशन. लेकिन ये चलते हुए देश में और विदर्भ में काफी आंदोलन हुए. हमने भी 125 किलोमीटर की पदयात्रा ब्रह्मपुरी से नागपुर 1000 लोगों के साथ 2005 में की थी और यही सवाल के ऊपर हम विधानसभा पर मोर्चा निकाले थे. लेकिन 2002 का जो जीआर था और बाद में 2002 के बाद उस पर काफी काम हुआ और कार्यकर्ताओं ने सरकार के सामने ये प्रस्ताव रखा कि गोदावर्मन केसेस जो है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में और मद्रास हाई कोर्ट में उस पर काफी ये हुई कि पर्यावरण को लेके इस जमीन नहीं देने के लिए बहुत सारे लोग दबाव डाल रहे सरकार के ऊपर और उससे ये केस अभी भी चल रही. लेकिन मनमोहन सिंह ने 2006 में अनुसूचित जमाती व इतर परंपरागत वन निवासी जो कानून लाया है उससे अभी दावा दाखिल करने की प्रक्रिया, वन हक्क समिति बनाने की, ग्राम सभा का ये करने की, ग्राम सभा में वो दावा दाखिल होने के बाद वो दावा
वन हक्क समिति के पास जाएगा, फिर तहसील में जाएगा, तहसील से SDO कार्यालय और जिला कार्यालय में उस पर मंजूरी मिलेंगी, या बहुत सारे दावे वापस भी आए अपील के लिए कि लोगों के पास उसका कोई डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं है। जो डॉक्यूमेंट देना है उसके ऊपर भी काफी बहस हुई है। और अभी उस कानून में एक बात मैं बताना चाहूंगा कि जो कानून बना है अनुसूचित जमाती व इतर परंपरागत वन निवासी कानून, इसमें दलितों के लिए 75 इयर्स का ये रखा है कि 75 इयर्स का जिस गांव में जमीन है उस गांव का वो रहवासी होना चाहिए। और मुझे लगता है कि 47 और 50 के बाद भारत में संविधान बना और अमल शुरू हुआ, तो उसके पहले लोग तो इधर उधर बहुत भटकते थे और दलितों के पास ये 75 इयर्स का रहवासी दाखला नहीं मिल सकता। तो इसलिए ये दलित लोगों को जमीन का पट्टा मिलने में बहुत दिक्कतें हैं। इस बारे में सरकार के सामने हमने काफी निवेदन दी है और काफी आंदोलन भी हुए। उसमें कोतवाल पंजी का एक मुद्दा सामने लाया था और महाराष्ट्र शासन और केंद्र सरकार के सामने कोतवाल पंजी के बारे में चर्चा हुई, लेकिन कोतवाल पंजी लगाई, लेकिन कोतवाल पंजी भी बहुत सारे अभी ये समूह को, दलित समूह को नहीं मिल पा रही। तो इसमें काफी दिक्कतें आई और ये दलित और OBC समूहों को 75 इयर्स का रहवासी दाखला उसमें जोड़ना पड़ता है, तभी उसको जमीन का पट्टा मिलता है। जो विदर्भ में अभी तक जमीन के पट्टे मिले हैं वो ट्राइब्स को मिले हैं और कई सारे OBC और दलित को मिले हैं विदर्भ में। लेकिन गढ़चिरौली में जो 100% पट्टे मिले हैं उसमें गढ़चिरौली की जो राजनीतिक पहल जो अलग तरीके की है, अलग तरह का दबाव है, उसका परिणाम इस पर दिखता है। लेकिन बहुत सारे जगह पे अभी भी जमीन का पट्टा नहीं मिल पाए। जो नागपुर के जो तालुका है, उमरेड है, भिवापुर है या हिंगना और कुही तालुका है, उसमें पारदी समूह को उमरेड तालुका में जमीन के पट्टे मिले हैं, लेकिन वो पट्टे वापस ये करने का नोटिस उनको भेजे कि ये आपको जमीन का पट्टा दिया है तो उसको वापस करो। इस तरीके की बातें अभी महाराष्ट्र में जमीन के लिए हो रही है और संघर्ष भी हो रहे हैं। और दूसरी बात इसमें यह है कि फॉरेस्ट का जो रोल है, जमीन का दावा दाखिल करने के बाद जब तक मंजूर नहीं होता तब तक फॉरेस्ट ने उस जमीन पर कोई कार्रवाई नहीं करना चाहिए। लेकिन फॉरेस्ट वाले जबरदस्ती से कार्रवाई करते हैं और ये हजारे सर का गांव है, उसके बगल में एक गांव के जमीन पर अभी उन्होंने बुलडोजर चलाए हैं। तो इस तरीके का जबरदस्ती का काम फॉरेस्ट करती है। रेवनी उसके ऊपर कार्रवाई करने के लिए जो रेवनी, फॉरेस्ट और पुलिस का जो ये है, इसमें काफी बात होना जरूरी है, उसमें काफी निर्बंध लगाना भी जरूरी लगता है। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये विदर्भ के जितने डिस्ट्रिक्ट है उसमें कम से कम 52,000 जबरन जो धारक है, 52,000। तो 52,000 जब परिवार समझो, जबरन जो धारक समझो, तो 52,000 परिवार का ये जमीन का मसला है। और इतनी सारी जमीन थी जो कि पहले महसूल में थी, लेकिन 80 के बाद वो फॉरेस्ट पर हैंडओवर होने के बाद जहाँ भी जाए वहाँ फॉरेस्ट वाले तंग करते हैं। और इस तरह का एक ये पट्टा देने की जो प्रक्रिया है उस पर मुझे लगता कि अच्छी बहस हो और एक कुछ ना कुछ सरकार के ऊपर दबाव लाया जाए, तभी दलित और OBC परिवार को जमीन का पट्टा मिल सकता है। आदिवासी में भी फर्क किया है, गोंड जो है और माना जो है उसमें भी काफी दिक्कतें आती है और आदिवासी समूह को कास्ट का दाखला मिलने में बहुत तकलीफ है उनको भी। तो ये सारे बातें उस 2006 के कानून में उस पर काफी बदलाव भी हुआ 2012 तक, लेकिन जो सही मायने में बदलाव की जरूरत है ये 75 इयर्स के उसमें है कि 80 साल का जो भी बूढ़ा होगा उसका साइन होगा, लेकिन रहवासी दाखला ये 75 इयर्स का होना चाहिए। यानी 2005 से उधर 2023 या 2020 तक का दाखला मिलना चाहिए, तभी जमीन का पट्टा मिल सकता है। ये जमीन के बारे में काफी ये है। और इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का अभी चल रहा, कलेक्टर ऑफिस में मीटिंग होती है और विभागीय आयुक्त की तरफ भी मीटिंग है, जो भी अपील में जाने का है। और ये तो उसमें काफी लोग हैं, लेकिन जो भी उस पर पद पर है वो सारे जिला परिषद के पदाधिकारी है और फॉरेस्ट के अधिकारी है, महसूल विभाग के अधिकारी है। जो भी इसमें ये भी होना चाहिए ताकि आदिवासी समूह का और दलित समूह का भी एक कार्यकर्ता, एक प्रतिनिधि उस कमेटी में होना चाहिए। ऐसी कोई यहाँ पे नहीं हुआ है। तो इस तरीके का काम आगे बढ़ाने के लिए और जमीन ये होने के लिए मुझे लगता करने की जरूरत है।
थैंक यू विलास दादा, थैंक यू वेरी मच। हाँ विद्या मॅडम, प्लीज प्रोसीड।
थँक्यू सर, थँक्यू। विलास बोंगाडे सर, महत्वाची माहिती दिल्याबद्दल धन्यवाद, थँक्यू। एक प्रश्न आहे, क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम रेडमी, नावाचा उल्लेख नाहीये। What should we do when a part of our land is encroached upon by local leaders or sarpancha for temple, when there are two other approach road in the DP plan as well the entire village gangs up against you? Please advise. Hello, Dr. Milind Awad sir. Dr. Milind sir.
Dr. Prashant या Dr. Milind, please come
Yes,
forward.
yes, can Prashant, I'm sorry, मला ना मॅडम तो प्रश्नच नाही कळला, तर प्रशांत बोलू शकतो.
मॅडम परत एकदा विचारा.
What should we do when a part of our land is encroached upon by local leaders or sarpancha for temple, when there are two other approach roads in the DP plan as well the entire village gangs up against you? Please advise.
Actually, temple, very similar cases. We have a couple of villages in B district where we actually encroach temple land, and it's been like 30-35 years. Now they are the local villagers, they got some fund called Tirtha Kshetra Vikas Fund. So one of the village called Purushottampuri, that land is Purushottamachi land, Purushottamachi Zameen. And they got 7 crore to develop or to build, construct temple on that land. Now local Tehsildar and collector is going and sending them notices saying that this is encroachment, and please, I mean, they are sending notices, this is encroachment, otherwise we will follow legal procedure. So what we are doing is that we are going to local charity commissioner office, and we are saying that this land is Devasthanachi land. This land is the guardian or the basically owner of this land is charity commissioner. So we have encroached this land more than 30 years, and we should be charity commissioner should allow this land to cultivate to these encroachers. So basically we are litigating. There are no clear-cut guidelines that land is Devasthanachi land, but because of our encroachment, we are saying that we should get the legal entitlement of that land. So our strategy is to legally litigate that land. So this is something which we are doing, or I could say, as a non, legal expert or someone who is engaged with the issue. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. Now question from
can I just
Sir Gautam Kamble, sir.
Can I just add?
Okay, sir, please.
Yes, Dr. Prashant. Yeah, please. Dr. Prashant.
Yeah, I think the Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, has this provision of those who tampers the economic rights of Dalits or scheduled caste. This case can be raised under the provisions of Prevention of Atrocities Act, and maybe the local Dalit leaders, the National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights and others can help them to take it up. That is my suggestion, advice or suggestion.
Thank you, sir.
Madam, there are so many hands. That is the Siddharth Vairale, Atul Sonone,
Yes,
Dr.
yes, sir.
Sangraj, please.
Yeah, I'll take first question from Gautam Kamble, sir. He
Yeah.
asking, what is the current mindset of small cultivators regarding cultivate their land? Is it possible for them to cultivate their land properly in present crisis? What are the probable solutions?
It's for me.
Yes, sir. For you.
Yes, yes. No, actually, this land is definitely, whether it is economically viable or not is, I think, second level issue, because the kind of vulnerabilities in which Dalit masses or, economically, socially vulnerable masses lives in is definitely helping them. So even 1 acre, 2 acre land, at least one of the member is working on the land, and others are going to, sugarcane cutters, or they are working as informal labor or wherever as land laborers. But land is definitely helping them. So in my opinion, economic viability of that land is not an issue, but that land is giving them A, economic dependency, and B, social dignity. So in terms of this two perspective, I think land is important.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, Dr. Ratnadeep Sonkamble, sir, please ask your question. Dr. Ratnadeep, sir.
मी धम्मसंगीने बोलते.
हा मॅडम बोला. येस येस बोला.
हा, मी असं विचारायचं होतं मला की आदिवासींचे वनदावे निकाली काढण्यासाठी मी आता एक यंत्रणा त्यांनी बसवलेली आहे किंवा बनवलेली आहे, एक सेपरेट कमिटी तालुका आणि जिल्हा लेवलला वनदाव्यांच्या ह्याच्यासाठी प्रकरणांसाठी. तसं गायरान धारकांचे दावे निकाली काढण्यासाठी काही यंत्रणा सेपरेट बनवली आहे का, किंवा त्याच्यासाठी काही प्रयत्न सुरू आहेत का, हे मला विचारायचं होतं.
आपण तोच प्रयत्न केला होता. आपण ते 2012ला एक सगळ्या डिव्हिजनल कमिशनरच्या बैठकीत असं म्हणालो होतो की तुम्ही राज्यभरात तर दुसरीकडे काही करत नाही आहात, पण ऍटलीस्ट जिथं ह्या फाईल दाखल केल्यात आणि ज्यांच्या नावावर जमीन होऊ शकते आणि नावे होण्यासाठी तुम्हाला जी कागद लागतायत ती दिली, तर किमान ती तरी तुम्ही कॅम्प लावा त्या तालुक्यांमध्ये आणि निकाली काढा. तर ती फक्त चर्चा झाली, पण त्याच्यावरती पुढे काही काम झालं नाही. आणि आता तर स्थिती अशी आहे की या ऍप्लिकेशन वरती जर नव्यानं ऍप्लिकेशन दिले ना, तर स्थानिकचा तहसीलदार नोटिसा देतो की या जमिनी नावे करता येत नाहीत, आणि अशा किमान 100-200 नोटिसा मिळाल्या. आणि आम्हाला माहित नाही की आता काय करायचं, कारण सुप्रीम कोर्टाचे सगळे सायटेशन आहेत, सुप्रीम कोर्टाचा रूल आहे, सुप्रीम कोर्टाची एक जजमेंट आली आहे, ती इतकी निगेटिव्ह आहे की ते फक्त एक्सेप्शनल कंडिशन मध्येच जमीन नावावर होऊ शकते. तर आता मला तरी असं वाटतं की सुप्रीम कोर्टाच्या ज्या 2-3 जजमेंट आहेत त्याला चॅलेंज करणारी एखादी जर पिटिशन करता आली तरच ह्या जमिनी लोकांच्या नावे होऊ शकतील, असं ब्युरोक्रेसी मधली लोक सांगतायत, लिगल लॉयरही सांगतायत. तर त्याच्यापेक्षा तर वेगळं काही दिसत नाही आता.
मला हे म्हणायचं होतं की जसं वनदावे निकाली काढण्यासाठी म्हणजे आदिवासी भागामध्ये तर ते प्रॅक्टिकल
कायदाच वेगळा आहे हा गायरान.
पण ते हे दावे निकाली काढण्यासाठी तहसील किंवा जिल्हा लेवलचं जे काही ऑफिसेस आहेत ते काही कमी पडत आहेत, किंवा त्यांची उदासीनता बघता आपल्याला सेपरेट यंत्रणाची डिमांड करता येऊ शकेल असं मला वाटत होतं.
करायला पाहिजे
मॅडम, नक्कीच डिमांड करता येईल. काय होतं की जोपर्यंत जनतेचं प्रेशर राहत नाही, लोकांचं प्रेशर राहत नाही, लोकांचा दबाव राहत नाही यंत्रणेवर, तोपर्यंत यंत्र आपल्या मनाप्रमाणे बिहेव करेल. आता आवाड सरांनी म्हटलं की सुप्रीम कोर्टाचं जे जजमेंट आहे ते निगेटिव्ह मध्ये आहे. व्हाय इट इज सो? म्हणजे आजकाल प्रत्येक जजमेंट जे आहे ते पब्लिकच्या फेवरने राहत नाही आणि जो कोणी सत्ताधारी आहे त्यांच्या फेवरने राहते. हे कसं काय होऊ शकतं? जर जनता जर अवेअर असेल, जनता जर पुढे आली आणि जनतेने जर प्रेशराईज केलं तर त्यात नक्कीच होऊ शकतं. ठीक आहे विद्या मॅडम, नेक्स्ट.
येस येस. सिद्धार्थ वैराळे सर. सिद्धार्थ वैराळे, प्लीज अनम्यूट.
हॅलो.
यस प्लीज प्लीज.
हा, माझा प्रश्न आहे मॅडम.
बोला सर.
आता जे गावागावी जे पडीक जमिनी आहेत वन विभागाच्या. हॅलो.
बोला बोला बोला, ऐकायला येतं, बोला.
आवाज येतो सर, बोला.
जी जायकवाडीची जी जागा आहे आपली, गावागावामध्ये मोकळी जागा आहे, ती आपल्याला शासनाकडून घेता येईल का? आपल्याला एखादं तिथं सामाजिक कार्यासाठी समाज मंदिर उभारायचं आहे, यासाठी आपल्याला ती घेता येईल का ग्रामपंचायत कडून, किंवा आपल्याला जायकवाडीकडून अशी भेटेल का आपल्याला ती?
आवाड सर काही सांगता येईल? आवाड सर.
हा, म्हणजे आता नाही, एक तर सरळ ठोकताळ असं आहे की जर पडीक जमीन असेल तर लोकांना जर शेती करण्याजोगी असेल तर ती अति हे करावी, तिला काढावं. जर समज छोटीशी असेल समाज मंदिर बांधण्यासाठी तर तिच्यावर अतिक्रमण करावं, तर करताच येईल. फक्त ते बघितलं पाहिजे. थोड्याफार केसेस होतात, थोडाफार संघर्षाला सामोरे जावं लागतं, पण ते प्रोसेसच आहे आता ती.
सर मी काही शेअर करतो याच्यात की जसं महाराष्ट्राचं सचिवालय आहे तसं गावाचं सचिवालय ग्रामपंचायत आहे. ग्रामपंचायतला जर तुम्ही मागणी करून ठराव घेता आला आणि तो जर पुढे प्रोसेस करता आला तर त्याला वेटेज येईल. समजलं का? ग्रामपंचायतच्या ठरावाद्वारे ग्रामपंचायतने एकदा तुम्हाला ऍग्री जर झाली तर नंतर मग बाकीच्या तुम्हाला एखाद्या समाज कार्यासाठी, एखाद्या समाज मंदिरासाठी, गावाला कुठे तांत्रिक ऍक्टिव्हिटी करायची त्यासाठी, आणि आतापर्यंत झालेलं आहे तसं की ग्रामपंचायतनं म्हटलं की आमच्या हद्दीतली जमीन आहे, आम्ही यांच्यावर निर्णय घेतो, मग त्याला तो चॅलेंज करायला कमी त्रास पडतो, मला असं वाटतं. इफ आय एम राईट.
महत्वाचं डॉक्युमेंट आहे ते.
ओके विद्या मॅडम, नेक्स्ट.
अतुल सोनवणे सर.
थँक्यू. जय भीम सर. सर हे जे जागेचे जे कायदे वगैरे आहेत, खास करून महारवतन वगैरे, हे फक्त म्हणजे हे कायदे आपल्या समाजातील लोकांनी जे आता ज्या नजीकच्या काळात जे जागा घेतलेल्या आहेत हे त्यांनाही लागू होतात का? आणि दुसरं म्हणजे हे जे गावाचे जे पुढारी वगैरे आहेत, नेते मंडळी पुढारी, की जे ह्या त्या कारणाने आपली जागा किंवा संपूर्ण नाही किंवा जागेचा थोडा भाग, जसं मंदिरासाठी जो रस्त्याचा अप्रोच रोड साठी आपली जागा बळकावलेली आहे ऍक्च्युअली, ती रातोरात ज्यावर रस्ता केला गेला वगैरे, केला तर तो सरपंचानीच केला होता, पण आता ते गावच्या काय त्याला ग्रामपंचायतीमार्फत पत्रव्यवहार ग्रामपंचायत करते. आपण ह्याच्यामध्ये ग्रामपंचायतीला पण अक्यूज म्हणून त्यांना ह्याच्यामध्ये इन्व्हॉल्व करू शकतो की आणखी दुसरं कोणतं मार्ग याच्यासाठी करावा लागेल? आणि ते पण एक्झिस्टिंग दोन जागा असताना
पुणे जिल्ह्यात फार होतंय. पुणे जिल्ह्यात तुम्ही सांगतायत ते फार होतंय.
हो सर, हो मी पुण्यातच सांगतो सर, हे पुण्यातच झालेलं आहे. आणि एक्झिस्टिंग दोन डीपी प्लॅन मध्ये दोन रोड असताना एक जो डीपी रोड आहे त्याला गावच्या एका म्हणजे काय त्याला म्हणतात डोमिनियन कास्टच्या माणसांनी ती जागा ब्लॉक करून टाकली, एक्वायर करून टाकली. पण त्याला हे लोक काय बोलतात का, त्यांना घाबरतात. आपली जागा आपण राहतो पुण्यामध्ये, जागा आहे सासवडमध्ये, तर त्यांना खूप सोपं वाटतं आपल्या जागेवर अतिक्रमण करणं. मग अशा केसमध्ये होतं काय की आम्ही पत्रव्यवहार मागच्या बऱ्याच दिवसापासून तिथल्या लोकल तहसील ऑफिसमध्ये किंवा पोलीस स्टेशनला कंप्लेंट वगैरे केलेली आहे, पण खूप फॉलोअप करावं लागतं सर, खूप संघर्ष करावा लागतो. सहजासहजी हे काही काम, कायदा असून देखील सहजासहजी कामं होत नाही. मग जर अशा वेळेस आपण ह्या तहसीलदारांवर पण काही कारवाई करू शकतो का, पोलिसांवर, तहसीलदार, किंवा आणखी काही असं काही तुम्हाला मार्ग सोपा असं करण्यासाठी?
हा, म्हणजे तेच तुम्ही जे म्हणालात ते त्याचा वेगवेगळ्या पातळीवरती पाठपुरावा करणे आणि कायद्याने या सगळ्या जमिनीवरचा हक्क आपण सांगणे हा एक महत्वाचा भाग आहे. आणि मग तुम्ही म्हणताय तसं जर एखादा अधिकारी म्हणजे जर तो मदत करीत नाही तर जातीय द्वेषानच करत नाही, तर मग अॅट्रॉसिटी किंवा अशा सारख्या कायद्याचं संरक्षण घेणे किंवा मग स्थानिक दलित मोबिलायझेशनचा जो प्रभाव असतो त्याच्यातून काही प्रश्न सुटतात. तर अशी इनेट एक स्ट्रॅटेजी नाही, वेगवेगळ्या माझ्या मते वेगवेगळ्या ठिकाणी वेगवेगळ्या परिस्थितीनुसार वेगवेगळ्या पद्धतीच्या लोकांना वेगवेगळी परिस्थिती हाताळायची बाब आहे ती. तर ते पुणे जिल्ह्यात तर फार जास्त आहे, तुम्ही सांगतायत ते बरोबर आहे. पण कायद्यानं जागा मागणे आणि त्याचा पाठपुरावा करणे हाच मार्ग आहे त्याच्यात.
आणि सर ग्रामपंचायतीवरच हे लावता येतं काय, अट्रॉसिटी लावता येतं?
तुम्हाला ग्रामपंचायतला अॅक्युज बनवता येतं, तहसीलदाराला अॅक्युज बनवता येतं, पार्टी तुम्हाला कुणालाही बनवता येतं. संविधानामध्ये तशा तरतुदी आहेत. त्याच्यामुळे जो माणूस नियमाच्या विरुद्ध काम करून तुमच्या समोर दिसतोय तर नियमाप्रमाणे त्याला अॅक्युज बनवता येतं. तहसीलदार हा एक व्यक्ती आहे आणि त्याला कुठली तरी जबाबदारी दिली आहे, ती जबाबदारी जर तो नीट पार पाडत नसेल तर त्याला प्रश्न आपल्याला विचारता येतात. ठीक आहे.
ओव्हरऑल एक आहे की लिगल एक्सपर्टची आपल्याला फार गरज आहे. आता पूर्वी काय आहे, मोर्चा झाला की 10,000 लोक रस्त्यावर यायचे, पण एखाद्या परिसरात एक जरी चांगला वकील असेल आणि तो जर जमिनीचा असेल, अॅट्रॉसिटीचा कायदा असेल किंवा किती, आता फक्त मेजर गोष्ट आहे लोकांना अर्ज लिहून देणे. आता आम्ही या सगळ्या कामाला पाठपुराव्यासाठी लोकांचे फक्त अर्ज लिहून देणे याच्यासाठी 10-5 वकिलांची मदत घेतोय, तर ती फार हेल्पफुल आहे. तर आता आपलं हे जे एक हिस्टॉरिकल ट्रेनिंग जे आहे, काही झालं की लगेच रस्त्यावर या, मोर्चे करा, आंदोलन करा, हे तर आहे, लोक येतात. पण ही जी कायद्याची मदत आहे ती सर्व गरीब माणसाला, आपल्या लोकांना मिळवून देणारी लोक तयार करणे किंवा त्या लोकांबरोबर समन्वय करणे हे एक मूलभूत काम आहे असं वाटतंय मला आत्ताच्या परिस्थितीत.
पुण्यामध्ये आपलं ब्रांच वगैरे आहे सर?
नाही, तसं काय, ते लोकल कार्यकर्त्यांनाच बघायचं.
ओके सर, थँक्यू.
थँक्यू सर. थँक्यू अतुल सर. शुद्धोधन उमरे.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone. My name is Siddhodhan. I'm from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, second year student. I have a question regarding the encroachment by upper caste. Like since 2011, there was a judgment by Supreme Court of India in the case of Depal Singh and others versus state of Punjab versus others, which said that from onwards the regularization of land will not be done, and the jurisdiction of this common land was transferred to the forest department, which was earlier the case jurisdiction of district collector. So my question is, in this all process, how are we missing the procedural justice and the encroachment by upper caste on common land? Is it not a ecological destruction? So, yes, sir.
Awad sir.
Actually, I agree with you. I mean, that is clearly case of caste violence, or using domination to encroach resources such as land. So I think legal appeal or creating pressure in order to raise your issue is one of the strategy, or that is what we can do now. But I don't see any other possibility. There may have been various possibilities, but I think these are a couple of strategy or possibility with which we can push on.
Sir, it would be better if you suggest some acts related to common lands, as I am studying on jurisdiction of common lands. It will be helpful for me.
I'm not legal expert, to be very honest. What I know is my commonsensical knowledge, and I picked up from my own exposure, talking with people, or I understood what are those bases on which these cases are framed. So better to talk to concerned lawyer, or perhaps, but I'm not legal expert, or I'm not aware about
okay, sir.
law legalities in that.
Can I suggest something?
Yes, sir. Sure.
There is a Maharashtra land revenue disposal of government land rules. It was drafted in 1971. So maybe we can see that, and then see the judgment in the light of these government Maharashtra land revenue disposal of government land rules.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Vidya madam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Professor Pangraj, sir. M. Thangraj.
Dr. Tangraj. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I just speak from my Tamil Nadu experience. Every year, government of Tamil Nadu issues pattas, new pattas for encroached land. And here, Gairan land, for using the Gairan land, many people have got the patta. That is by both Dalits and non-Dalits. Why Dalits alone are facing the problem in getting the patta or title deed? Is one question. Second question is, they use the land for several years, some cases 30, 40 years, still they are not getting the title deed. One thing is not clear, whether they cultivate the land, whether they pay any revenue to the government or not, or they use entire proceeds by themselves. This is my second question. Thank you.
Dr. Prashant sir, please. Dr. Prashant sir.
Yes, I'll answer. I'll answer these two things. So the first question is about the why Dalits are only targeted.
Yes.
As we know that it is a typical caste system, and in which Dalits are expected to do laboring for the dominant communities. And when Dalit asserts their right on these pattas, so it is seen that they not only assert their choice of becoming independent, but they refuse to work on their lands on their terms. And therefore, it is not only the upper caste, but the local bureaucracy, local leaders come into play, and they all gang up of not securing the land rights of Dalits, and that is what contestations has taken place throughout, not only in Maharashtra but throughout the country. So in Maharashtra, especially on Gairan lands, when people till the Gairan lands, and when the crop comes, you had thousands of cases where the cattle are asked to go in this land and thrash the crops. So they thrash these crops, and therefore, as Dr. Awad was saying, that they have to give. Why they have to give 17 kind of affidavits or 17 kind of proofs. So when it comes to regularization of encroachments, you have a very strict policy, and when non-Dalits acquire these lands, their regularization is being done. So as I've said, 70% of the cases of Dalits and Adivasis were illegal, considered to be illegal, whereas 30% cases were supposed to be legal. So in that, most of the cases were non-Dalits and non-Adivasis. So that is the picture which we see, and it is a typical caste contestation. So what was your next second question, Dr. Thangaraj?
It's revenue.
Yeah. No. These lands are not on their own name, but these lands are on the name of government. So they don't pay anything to the revenue department, but they have to pay some fine for cultivating these lands. But I don't know exact amount.
People are actually fine. We are insisting people to pay. Ask Tehsildar
to get.
Yeah, that's called peak pera.
Yeah,
peak pera.
Yes. Yeah.
So peak pera is basically revenue. They will give you receipt and they'll take some charge some revenue. So
that itself become a document of proof.
So talatis are not doing that. So, and that is very pakka document. So they're ready to pay revenue, but they're not willing to pay.
Even the forest department land is of forest given to tribals. They are not on their name. Only 712 abstract name is there. I hope I answered.
Thank you, Dr. Prashant. As you have explained that 60% and 10%, because 10% are pending with the government and 60% they are not. That is the answer of first question, I think. Yeah, Mr. Harsh, have you having any questions? Mr. Harsh. Vidya madam, please.
प्रश्न नाहीये. जयश्री प्रधानचा प्रश्न दिसतोय मला. सर, माझा प्रश्न असा आहे की परिचयातील एका लेडीजचा हजबंड. हॅलो जयश्री मॅम.
येस मॅम.
विचारा.
डायरेक्ट प्रश्न विचारा मॅम.
मराठीत विचारा, काही हरकत नाही.
थँक्यू. एक लेडीज आहेत परिचयाच्या, तर त्यांची गायरान जमीन म्हणजे असं ऐकण्यात आलं की त्यांची जी गायरान जमीन होती त्यांच्या मिस्टरांच्या नावावरती होती आणि ते काही कारणाने ते त्यांचे हजबंड वारले. पण मग नसल्यामुळे ती जमीन जी आहे ती अन्य एका नावावरती झालेली आहे. तर जमीन पण येईल का? आणि मग जर होत तर असेल तर मग काय करता येईल किंवा काही करू शकू का आपण?
ती जर नावावर झाली असेल तर ती त्यांची मिळकतच आहे, ती वारशाप्रमाणे त्यांनाच दिली पाहिजे जर ती नावावर झाली असेल तर.
तर अन्य एका व्यक्तीने ती नावावर करून घेतली असं ते आहे प्रकरण.
माझ्या मते नावावर झाली असेल तर काही प्रॉब्लेम नसावा.
पण मग तर त्यांची होते ना, मग ते त्यांच्या नावावर दुसऱ्याच्या नावावर जर झाली तर मग ती पुन्हा नाही खात.
एकदा तुमच्या नावावर झाली म्हणजे तो महसूल हे आहे ना. एकदा समजा घर जमीन त्या कुटुंबाच्या कोणत्या माणसाच्या नावावर झाली तर वारसाप्रमाणे पुढच्या लोकांना गेली पाहिजे. तर जर नावावर झाली असेल तर त्या कुटुंबातल्या लोकांना म्हणजे काही प्रश्नच नाही न जाण्याचा.
ती जर लेट मी ऍड हिअर.
प्लीज सर, प्लीज.
ती जर जमीन जर अतिक्रमण त्यांचं रेग्युलर झालं असेल तर तो जो पट्टा आहे तर त्याचा पट्ट्याचा जो सातबारा असतो तो दोन्ही स्त्री आणि पुरुषाच्या नावाने असतो. जर तो रेग्युलर जर पट्टा झाला असेल तर, आणि जर नसेल झाला तर मग ते असेच ती जमीन कसत असतील असं त्याचा अर्थ होतो.
तर काही ठिकाणी अशा केसमध्ये काय होतं की पटवारी किंवा तहसीलदार एक थोड्याशा गोष्टीसाठी यांना अडवतात. ग्रामीण भागामध्ये माहिती कमी असतं आणि मग त्यांना विनाकारण त्रास द्यायचा प्रयत्न करतात. अशा केसमध्ये कॉम्प्लिकेशन्स क्रिएट करायचा प्रयत्न करतात.
त्यांचं सातबारा बघून आपण म्हणजे ते
त्यांना ऍडवाइस करता येईल तसं. ठीक आहे. ओके, विद्या मॅडम.
ओके सर, थँक्यू सर, थँक्यू. मला वाटते प्रश्न संपले आहेत.
मॅडम एक चॅट बॉक्स मध्ये होळकरांचा प्रश्न होता. बघता का? होळकर, नागप्पा होळकर फ्रॉम कर्नाटका. या
ओके, जस्ट वेट.
पहिलाच प्रश्न होता, पहिलाच त्यांचा कॉमेंट आहे चॅट बॉक्स.
प्रश्न नाही आहे सर. त्यांनी आय थँक्स होस्ट अँड को होस्ट फॉर कंडक्टिंग दिस वेबिनार.
नाही, एक चॅट बॉक्स मध्ये पहिलाच प्रश्न आहे त्यांचा. बघा.
नो सर,
नाही आहे का? ठीक आहे. ओके.
अलका पाटील मॅडम म्हणतात व्हेरी इन्फॉर्मेटिव्ह नॉलेज दॅट प्रोव्हाइडेड बाय दी बोथ ऑफ दी ऑनरेबल गेस्ट स्पीकर्स. Thank you, Dr. Milind Awad sir and Dr. Prashant Bansode sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
ठीक आहे मॅडम. प्रोसीड. पुढचं करा. सरांना काही बोलायचं आहे का? थोरात सरांना. थोरात सरांनी चेअरमनचे कॉमेंट्स केलेच नाही. थोरात सर. प्लीज.
नाही ठीक आहे, म्हणजे ते मी ज्या काही कॉमेंट करायच्या होत्या त्या केल्यात. एकच मुद्दा मला म्हणायचा आहे तो असा की विदर्भाचा जो अकाउंट आहे तो यांनी मांडला,
विलास भोंगाडे.
विलास भोंगाडीने मांडला, ते चांगलं झालं. केव्हा आपण नंतर एकदा सविस्तर चर्चा विदर्भामधील लँड डिस्ट्रीब्युशन प्रोग्राम आणि ग्रेजिंग लँडच्या संदर्भामध्ये चर्चा करूया. पण त्यांनी चांगले मुद्दे मांडले घाईघाईने, आपण सविस्तर नंतर चर्चा करता येईल.
थँक्यू पवन.
थँक्यू सर. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.
Thank you, Professor Sukhadeo Thorat, and thank you, Dr. Milind Awad sir, Dr. Prashant Bansode sir, and Dr. Trilok Hajare sir for the question answer session and making it more engaging and interactive. So moving forward, so may I invite now my friend Roshan to please deliver today's vote of thanks. Roshan.
Thank you, Pavan. Jai Bhim one and all. I am Roshan Shirkare, a student of Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, and currently enrolled in second year Masters in Dalit and Tribal Studies and Action. I hope you all enjoy the session organized by Association for Social and Economic Equality, a webinar on topic NGOs and their role in land distribution in Maharashtra. I would be glad to take this opportunity to thank the respected chief guest of this webinar, Padamshree, Professor Sukhadeo Thorat sir, the former chairperson of UGC and ICSSR, New Delhi, and the president of ASEE, Association for Social and Economic Equality. Thank you very much, sir. I thank to Dr. Prashant Bansode sir, a professor at Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, Pune, for giving us the background on the land and distribution policy for a scheduled caste in Maharashtra. I also thank today's guest speaker, Honorable Dr. Milind Awad sir, a professor at Department of English in JNU, on his talk, the NGOs and the role in land distribution in Maharashtra. Thank you, sir, for sharing with us what happens on ground level and the issues of documents. Also, the pointed out the inefficiency of revenue department and how the bureaucrat treat the landholder, and the projects that how it work on the ground level to generate the proofs of 18,000 families. Thank you for explaining then the documentation process and how it all worked despite the revenue department was not interested doing the any work. Thank you, Dr. Awad sir, for the wonderful sessions and insightful talk. Thank you for answering the questions and raised by the participant, making session engage and interactive. On the behalf of association, I thank today's guest speaker, Dr. Awad sir and Dr. Bansode sir, for giving insight, the informative and excellent talk. I also want to thank Dr. Hajare sir, Dr. Gautam Kamble sir, and Professor Vidya ma'am, and the many members of the association who have contributed to making the beautiful the weekly lecture event successful. I also thanks to Shura Durapure madam, Dr. Bharat Shirsat sir, Mr. Rushikesh Kamble sir, Dr. T.N. Lokande sir, Nagappa Holkar sir, M. Thangaraj sir, Jivan Gaikwad sir, Dr. Ashok Gaikwad sir, Dr. Ratnadeep Son Kamble sir, Dr. Pushpa Thorat ma'am, Dr. Neeraj Kumar Ambore sir, Mr. Vinod Kumar Duldule sir, Vikas Bongade sir. I would like to thank all the participants and their presence, enthusiastic participants and their question to make this session more engaging. Thank you each member of their corporation and making this session fruitful. Thank you very much. Jai Bhim.
Thank you, Roshan. You have done very nice job. And thanks to all. Really, our guest speakers, they have delivered very nicely, very informative. I think most of the delegates, they do not aware about this information. And sir, this is totally most of the mobs are academicians, they have joined and they have benefited through your lectures, and definitely. And next time also we will be in your contact for the information. Thanks very much. Vidya madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Milind, sir.
Thank you, Bansode. Thank you,
Thank you,
Vidya.
sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hajare.
सर काल मला तुमचा फोन घेता नाही आला. आता हे क्लोज झाले की मी तुम्हाला लगेच फोन करतो.